Summer is coming to an end and new cameras are expected soon, from GoPro, DJI and perhaps also Insta360. I think certainly also to be prepared for the upcoming competition, Insta360 has once again improved its most important products with updates. There are new features for the Ace Pro, the X4 and perhaps most importantly also new features and improvements for the Insta360 app. So let's take a quick look at what the new features are and whether they make a real difference. The Ace Pro has basically only received 2 new features, but these new features are all the more interesting. As you may know, the Ace Pro was created in collaboration with the camera manufacturer Leica. Leica is a German company with a long tradition that produces very high quality cameras that create a very special look. This is often referred to as the Leica look. This Leica look is one of the main reasons why many enthusiasts spend a lot of money on Leica cameras. So it's all the cooler that the Ace Pro has now received 2 new Leica color profiles. The color profiles are called Leica Natural and Leica Vivid. The difference between natural and vivid lies mainly in the saturation, whereby shots in vivid have significantly more saturation. Both color profiles have a very high contrast look. Here you can see a comparison between the new color profile Leica Natural and the standard color profile of the Ace Pro. You can see that the new Leica profile has significantly more contrast. But it's not just the contrast. The Leica colors are somewhat warmer overall and, as already mentioned, have a very unique look. Here you can see a comparison between the color profile Vivid and the new color profile Leica Vivid. This comparison also shows that the Leica color profile has its very own look. In my opinion, this is an absolutely great new feature, and I think I will be using the 2 new color profiles a lot. The Ace Pro is still by far the best action camera for shooting in low light. For shooting in low light, it has a dedicated shooting mode, pure video. I think that especially in this area, the competition will try to achieve a similarly good image quality with new cameras in the coming weeks. It is therefore all the more interesting that the pure video mode of the Ace Pro has been visibly improved once again. Recordings in low light now contain even less image noise, more clarity, and the highlights are even better protected than before. It's great that Insta360 is offering these important new features to existing users and not just releasing a new camera with the same hardware and requiring a new purchase just for a software update. I'm really excited to see whether the upcoming cameras will be able to compete with the improved pure video mode of the Ace Pro. The update for the X4 was already released a few days ago. In my opinion, it contains 3 interesting new features. In addition to general live broadcasting in 360 mode, which is perhaps less interesting for the average user, with the X4, live streams can now be created in a flat video format as well as in a 360 format by supporting various third-party platforms, specifically YouTube of course, but also Facebook and TikTok. Personally, I don't do too many live streams, but I know that a dedicated broadcasting feature has been sorely missed by some. The X4 now also supports new accessories. The Apple Watch can be used to control the camera and keep an eye on the status of the X4. The X4 has supported the high-quality GPS preview remote right from the start. The GPS preview remote is able to show the preview image of the camera on a fully fledged touch display. What many were not happy about was that the older but also significantly cheaper GPS action remote was not previously supported by the X4. This has now changed. So if you already own an action remote or just need a remote without a preview image to control the camera or to capture the GPS data, you can now use the cheaper action remote. And for users from the US or Canada in particular, there is another interesting new feature. The X4 now supports a frame rate of 48 frames per second in 5.7K and 4K. This means that if you create a project in 24 frames per second, you can now shoot in this frame rate and create a slow motion of 50% without risking strange image jumps due to an unsuitable frame rate. Okay, admittedly, apart from the new live streaming options, the new features of the X4 firmware are not that groundbreaking. Probably much more interesting are the improved AI features of the Insta360 app. One thing that still sets all Insta360 cameras apart from the competition are the many AI-controlled auto-edit features. And it's also important that Insta360 invests in these features, because reframing remains a disadvantage of a 360 camera. It's an additional editing step that some people are not keen on and that should be done as quickly and easily as possible, preferably automatically. Nevertheless, some users have criticized the AI-generated editing features from time to time in the past. For these reasons, The new features of the app are probably the most important update, as the auto-edit features have been significantly improved once again. The scenes can now be recognized better, which means that the app is able to identify the type of activity, distinguish the individual subjects better, and thus create better automatically generated highlights. Important and special highlights are now not only better recognized, they are also displayed in automatically generated groups. This allows you to quickly and easily select and share the best highlights from a longer video. To do this, simply select a 360 video, preferably a slightly longer one, select AI in the top left-hand corner, and then let the app automatically create the highlights and create a compilation with music. The app now basically does two things. It detects the highlights within the recording, groups them and selects the supposedly best ones. And it creates a compilation with music from the best highlights. Here under Edit, you can change the template for the compilation or adjust the music. You can delete clips contained in the compilation or edit, trim, and also change the framing of the individual clips. Under Clips, you will find all the reframed highlights that the app has recognized, and you can also see which ones have been selected. All highlights are grouped by topic. Here you can also change the framing of the individual highlights, mark additional highlights, or deselect highlights marked by the app. All selected highlights are now exported via export, and you can use Auto Edit to create a new compilation with the highlights you have selected. It is of course difficult to estimate how much the feature has been improved, but personally I have the impression that the results are now much more usable. It's best if you try it out. Write me your opinion in the comments. I'd be interested to hear what you think of the feature. But the improved AI editing features aren't the only new addition to the app. As you may know, you can add dynamic movements to your 360 recording using keyframes and by changing the framing. However, it takes time and a little experience to create cool camera movements. That's why the app's Pro editing feature has now been given automated and predefined movements. You can now choose from various movements and also adjust the length of the effect. To do this, create a new keyframe and then select movement. The movements are also divided into different groups here. For example, there are protagonist, highlights, classic, and so on. You can then adjust the length of the movement at the bottom. Try out a few different movements and then simply choose the one that looks best. Apart from this, the quick editing features have also been slightly revised and improved. Automated tracking in particular, so deep track, has been improved once again. The movements now look a little smoother. So these are all useful and great new features. If you want to find out more about the many features of the X4 and the Insta360 app, take a look at my detailed tutorial on the X4. So what do you think? Are the Insta360 cameras ready for the upcoming new cameras from DJI or GoPro? There will be tests on all the new major action cameras. So stay tuned and give me a like as feedback if the video was interesting for you, and see you next time.